Well, hello there, and welcome to an overview of what the ChromeOS slot-in device looks like on an LG CreateBoard. I've got it right here behind me, and if you're looking at it and you're a Chromebook user, it should look very familiar to you. Essentially, what the ChromeOS slot-in device does is turn your CreateBoard into a gigantic Chromebook. So let's take a look at some of the features. We're going to be looking at the desktop overview. We're going to look at those time date settings underneath that stamp, and we're going to be looking at some system settings that are recommended. Let's get started by taking a look at that desktop overview. You're seeing that it looks, again, just like a Chromebook. So you have your desktop. If I hold on my finger for just a little bit, I'll get those desktop options that include auto hiding the shelf. It includes the shelf position, so I can turn that to the left, the bottom, or the right. And then, of course, I can enable and customize my wallpaper. So I can choose different wallpapers. I can also add a screensaver here as well. If we look down below, we have our Chromebook shelf, just as we have normally seen it. We have our menu option in the little circle on the left with all of our pre-installed Google apps, and then any other applications you may have installed, maybe from the websites or been able to download from the websites. In the middle, we have our pinned applications. These are generally reserved for the applications that we use the most, and we can pin and unpin them. So as you're realizing that you may be using applications more than others, you may choose to customize this by simply holding down on the button and choosing to pin or unpin it. Over to the right is that date and timestamp. So this is where you're going to be able to find the date and the time and how much you're connected to Wi-Fi, all the little settings that you have. And that's an overview of the ChromeOS desktop. All right, now it's time to find out what are the settings behind that little time date stamp. In the bottom right-hand corner, if you click on that time stamp, you'll find a little window pops open with some really, really great options for us to utilize. We start off with being able to adjust our Wi-Fi settings, and then just underneath that is the option to pair our ChromeOS with other Bluetooth-enabled devices. Over to the right, we have the option to put on a Do Not Disturb on the board. This is great for if you don't want notifications to be flying in everywhere while you're teaching. And just below that is the ability to cast the screen to other Chromecast-enabled devices as well. Underneath there, we have the volume, so we can move the volume and adjust the volume, and we also have the display brightness setting just below that as well. Just to the right of the volume and the display settings are a couple of more options. The first one is to adjust for audio, and the second one is to change the display theme. So we can turn on a light here. We can also change the theme from a dark to light or light to dark. At the very bottom, we have the power button. So this is where we'll be able to shut off our ChromeOS, restart the ChromeOS, and or sign out of the ChromeOS, and then be able to sign in later when you're ready. One other option here that's here in the power button is the ability to lock the screen. So we'll show you a little while how to put in a lock code, and you'll be able to use that lock code to lock and unlock the screen when you need to leave the room, say for a recess or lunch. At the very bottom right-hand corner is the system settings gear cog, and we'll get into that in a different episode. But I did want to show you the screen capture device. So just like on your Chromebook, we have the screen capture here on the ChromeOS as well. If you look down in the bottom of the screen, we have the option to take a screenshot or to do a screen video. And with either of those, we can go with a full screen, we can drag out a section to record, or we can do just one tab or one window of the screen. One caveat to think about is you're always going to want to check your audio before you do a video. The audio is default at off, so I'd hate for you to create the most amazing video and then find out that it didn't capture your voice. So always make sure before you do any sort of a screen recording that you are going to check to make sure that all the settings in that setting here are where you want them to be. And that is it for the time date settings window behind the little time date step. All right, let's take a look at the system settings now. And the way to get there the easiest is to just click that little timestamp in the bottom right-hand corner and then click the gear in the bottom right-hand corner of that. It will pop up the settings menu. You have your settings options on the left and the reading pane for those settings on the right. And you're taking a look. The first one is going to be the internet, and the second one is going to be the ability to pair Bluetooth devices to the ChromeOS and or connect to already paired devices. Next up is connected devices. This one's kind of fun. So if you are logged in to the same Google account on another device, there is the option to be able to share between those two devices. Now, some work and some don't, and it takes a little bit of practice, but it is actually a really cool feature. Let's spend just a second on the accounts menu here. So this is where if you have two school accounts, you will put them both in and be able to manage them between the two of them. Now, let's say maybe as an example, you're the yearbook advisor and you have a yearbook Gmail, and then you have your normal teacher account. So you have your teacher account. You can put them both here, navigate between them without having to sign in and out of the computer, and place documents where you want to. That can get a little messy after a while, so sometimes it is better just to sign in and out with those accounts. But if you know how to use it and you use it well, there's the option. This account setting is not the place where a colleague may add their accounts here, and then you would be sharing the board back and forth if it's a shared board. That is down here in the time date settings, and you're going to want to sign out of the board here. Your colleague would sign into the board with their Google account information. This account section right here in the system settings is for your own accounts, and any of these accounts that are in here, you'll have full access to. All right, let's keep going. We have the device settings now. So this is for most of the hardware. We have our keyboard and inputs, the stylus options. I'm gonna spend just a couple seconds showing you a couple display options. One of those is display and text size. The first time I got my ChromeOS and slotted it into the CreateBoard, everything was super minuscule. I couldn't read anything, everything was super tiny. So I came straight here to the device, went to the display, and changed the display and text size to like the maximum. Right now it's the maximum, I think, at 200%. So you may want to do this so that your students will be able to actually read what's on the board from their seats far away right away. Just down below is another option called orientation. So if for some reason you've decided to mount your board in portrait style rather than landscape style, you'll be able to go to orientation here and change the orientation to 90 degrees and be able to have the window looking the way the window is supposed to be. Okay, let's keep going on the settings. We have our wallpaper and style. We saw this earlier in the shortcut below, but this is where you can personalize your wallpaper again. We have some privacy and security settings. The one that I did want to mention is this is where you'll be able to create the code on lock screen. You'll be able to create the code and then be able to lock the screen and unlock it with that code right here. We have our apps and notifications. You can manage all of your applications, what they have access to, and things like that. And of course, because this is a Chromebook, a gigantic Chromebook, we have access to all of our accessibility features that we know and love from our Chromebooks. So anything that you see on the Chromebook, you should be seeing here as well. And of course, if you have access to the Chrome Web Store, you can go to the Chrome Web Store and access a whole bunch more accessibility extensions there. All right, let's take a look at our next system preferences. There's a very, very critical thing you want to do the first time that you put the ChromeOS slot in, and that is to go to System Preferences and Power. And right now, or what the default is here, is to go to sleep when idle. Now, when that happens, it's really hard to restart the ChromeOS without having to restart the whole board. ChromeOS and Google haven't quite figured out how to make that happen yet. So when idle, you want to change that option to keep display on, and that way it'll never go to sleep, it'll always be on, and the only time it ever turns off is when you power down the board when you're done with it for the day. Okay, there are a few other things on here I just wanted to point out. and that is where you're going to get your files. So I am signed in right now with one of my Gmail accounts. You can add a OneDrive account if you have one of those. You can add a couple more Gmail accounts if you want to. Like I said, in that account setting, you'll be able to move around in the accounts. And that's it. That's it for the system settings and the preferred ones. This last one is about ChromeOS, so if you're ever looking at what version you're on, just know that you can access that version right here. And thanks for joining us and taking a look at that Chrome OS overview.